Thank you very, very much for coming to today's training. This is our first month of trainings. My name is Rick Colby, and I will be your trainer today. We have different levels of English. Some are maybe lower level, some are very high level, but I think all of you will enjoy the training, so please enjoy. Let's take a look at our training. This is the Gnoble Group English Development Training. We want to help you develop your English, and the purpose of our training is to learn about global education and business in English. So first of all, let's talk about global education, education in the world. Here are some questions. First of all, which country in the world has the best education? Next question, which countries are in the top 5? And the last question here is this. What do you think Japan's rank is? There is a test that is given around the world to all students who are 15 years old. That test is called the PISA test, and this is what we will study and talk about today. The PISA test stands for the Program for International Student Assessment. This test was created by the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This is a group of countries. In 1960, they came together to share ideas about education and business and such. There are 20 countries who started the OECD. Let's see, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland. Spelling is very similar, Iceland and Ireland. Okay, but don't worry about that. Okay, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, United Kingdom, and the United States. So we had 20 original members. We also have some new countries, including Japan, joined in 1964. So these countries work together to share ideas. You can see these countries are all over the world. Okay? So they created the PISA test. There are some key points to the PISA test. This test was started in the year 2000, so about 13 years ago. The test is given every 3 years. So there have been tests in the year 2000, 2003, 2006, 2009, 2012. Okay? The tests are in 3 subjects: math, right, science, and reading. So 3 main subjects. Okay? And this is given to 15-year-old students. The reason why, for 15-year-old students, in some countries, the education stops at age 15. For example, in China, only 65% of students continue education after age 15. Okay, so they chose age 15 for all countries as a good age. The test is a 2-hour test. Of course, the test is in your own language. If you take the test in Japan, it's in Japanese. In America, it's in English, maybe Spanish and some other languages, but it's in your own language. So the reading part is your own language. These are the results here from 2009. There are many countries. Let's just look at the top 10 and in each category. In the year 2009, for mathematics here, top 10 countries, Shanghai. This was the first year that China joined the test. They joined the test in the year 2009, number 1 in math, number 1 in science, number 1 in reading. But please remember, this is Shanghai only. This is not all of China. In America, people take the test all over America, rich areas, poor areas, many different places. Shanghai is basically the best and the brightest students in China. They took the test, okay? But as we look in mathematics for 1 through 10, China, Singapore, Hong Kong was mentioned before, South Korea, Taiwan, Finland was mentioned before, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Japan, and Canada. We can see Japan was number 9 for mathematics, number 5 for sciences, and number 8 for reading. So in the top 10 in all 3 categories, which is very, very good. Also, you will notice for mathematics here, of the top 10 countries, 6 of those countries are Asian countries. China, Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, Taiwan, Japan. Asian countries do very, very well on the PISA test. Because in Asian countries, you have many, many tests. Test. You take many, many tests. This test, for example, in America or England or Australia, there are no points for the test. If you do a good job or a bad job, it does not matter. So Japanese people are very good students, so you work hard, you have a good test score. Maybe Americans are like, la 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 la. So maybe the score is not so good. So Asian countries do very, very well on this. One of the benefits of the PISA test, we can compare countries, rank 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, we can see how countries do over time. For example, this is the top 10 reading scores over time. In the year 2000, 2003, 2006, top 10. Finland was mentioned before, Hong Kong. Those countries do very, very well. As we look at this, we can see that some countries do very, very well every year. Finland, Canada. Basically, cold countries have very good scores. I don't know. Okay. But these countries do very well every year, top 4 every year. Some countries like the Netherlands, they were number 2 in 2000, and then number 9, 2003, number 14, 2006. So they can see that their score is going down. Maybe the country can think, is our education going down? Should we make changes? What changes can we make? Some countries like South Korea, number 10 in 2000, number 2 in 2003, number 1 in 2006, they're doing very, very well. They are improving every single year. They love the PISA test. It shows their education is improving. Right? Finland, we talked about before. Finland is always very high in these charts. Finland is very, very unique. In Finland, students start school at age 7. They start later. They do not take any test like this, big test. They don't take these tests until age 15. It's their first test. Right? In Finland, all of the education is free. You don't pay for school. It's free for everyone. All of the teachers have a master's degree, very high-level degree. It's paid for by the government. Right? In Finland, all of the students study together. In America, there are classes for very smart students, students who are having difficulty, many different classes. In Finland, all of the students study together. So the highest students and the lowest students are still very, very close in score. How about Japan? We talked about what is Japan's rank. These are all of Japan's PISA scores from the year 2000 to 2009, reading, math, and science. As you look at these scores, they are in the top 10 in every category every year, except for the reading, 2003, 2006. It's okay, I have trouble reading Japanese too, so I understand. Kanji is very difficult. But basically, Japan's scores are very, very good. Japan has a very good education. Okay. If you look at America's score here, we're not in the top 10 or top 15, so the scores are not so good. Looking at some other countries here, Australia does very well. Australia is in the top 10 for reading and science, also doing well in math. India, there were 74 countries that took the test in 2009. For reading, they were 73rd out of 74. For mathematics, 73rd out of 74. Science, 74th out of 74. India does not take the PISA test anymore. They said, no thank you. So in the year 2012, they did not take it. 2015, they will not take it. So some countries don't like the PISA test, for example. So our main question is, are these rankings correct? Is Japan really number 8? Is America number 30? Is Finland number 1 or China number 1? Are these scores correct? There are basically two main problems. There are two big problems with the PISA test. The first one is students do not take the same test. If all of you are students and all of you take the same test, we can say who is number 1, 2, and 3. But the PISA test does not work that way. The test that Japanese students take is different than the test that British students take, Indian students, American students. There are many, many, many different tests. They are not the same. For example, here is the PISA test, and people will take a PISA test here. Okay? So all of the students will take the test, but there are many different tests. Maybe this test is mathematics only, math only, and no science, right, and no reading. But PISA will give you a score for all 3 subjects, even though you did not have questions. They have a special formula, a special way of giving those scores. For example, here we have math, science, and reading, country A. In country A, they take the PISA test. Maybe there are no math questions. This would be my dream. I want to be in country A with no math questions. 50% of the questions are science, 50% are reading. Okay? So Americans would be very happy. Maybe Chinese people not so happy. They're very good at mathematics, right? Here, country B, 25, 25, 50. Country C, 50% math, no science, and 50% reading, for example. Okay. But all countries receive scores in all subjects. So it's a little bit strange. For example, in 2006, the PISA test, 50% of the students were not asked any mathematics questions. No math questions for 50% of the people in the world. 50% were not asked any reading questions. Only 10% were asked all of the reading questions, but all of the countries were given full scores in all 3 categories. So many countries are not happy about this because they don't understand where those rankings come from or where the scores come from. The OECD that made the PISA test, they said large variation in single country ranking positions is likely. So they understand that if Japan takes this test, you're number 6. If you take this test, number 8. It will change, right? So the OECD says, please don't use this test for rankings. But in the world, all countries like to use the rankings. So the numbers are not 100% accurate. There is a second problem with the PISA test. There are many ways to read the data. For example, in America, 2009, the reading was 17th, math 30th, science 23rd. So these scores are very bad and very embarrassing for America, right? Especially America spends more money on education than any other country. We spend a lot of money, but our scores are very bad. There is a reason for this, though. The PISA test reports average scores. It's the average score of each country. In America, we have more than 315 million people. We have many people. But America has one PISA score. The average score in America is 500. That's about the same as the average score for all OECD countries. However, in America and Japan and other countries, usually rich students or rich people, maybe they have higher scores. They have a better education. So usually rich people have higher test scores. Poor people usually have lower test scores. But one benefit of the PISA test is they gather a lot of information about who is taking the test. So we can use that information. For example, in America, poor students will receive free lunches. There's a free lunch program. All poor students receive free lunches. So we can see what percentage of students at a school are poor, right? And we can use that information. We can compare the percentage of poor people at those schools. We can compare it to other countries. For example, we mentioned before, Finland does very well on these tests. The percentage of poor people in Finland is 3.4%. It's a very small percent. There are not many poor people in Finland. The Finnish people do very well on these scores. If we go to America, if we divide America into different groups based on the percentage of poor students at those schools, if we take the best American schools that have under 10% poor students, right, and we put that in the same group with other countries with similar numbers here, Finland, Netherlands, Belgium, actually the United States has the best score in that group. So the US is number one in that group. If we look at the percentage of poor students between 10 and 24.9%, this group would include Canada, New Zealand, Japan, Australia. In this group here as well, the United States actually scores the highest in this group. Between 25% and 49.9%, we have the US and Estonia. We were able to beat them by 1 point. I'm very proud of that. 502 to 501. If you compare the United States, we're between 50 and 74.9%. This is basically Detroit, Michigan, but that's another story. But basically that's equal to Russia. And again, we had the highest score. If you read the data this way, actually the United States has the highest score in every group. And we'd feel happy about that. But the PISA gives one score for America, and that one score is not so good compared to other countries. Another benefit, if you look at America, right? America has many people, more than 315 million people, right? So the US has 25% of all high-scoring students in the world. And this is for the science test. All of the students in the world, the top scores for science, 25% of those people are American. If we look at the other countries here, Japan does very well at 13%, Korea, Taipei, Finland, Hong Kong. Actually, America's percent is more than the next 5 countries combined. So really, we do have many smart people that score high on the test because we have a large population. So it depends on how you want to read the data. So the question is, what do you think about the PISA test? Is it a good test? Is it a bad test? Do you agree with the numbers? Do you disagree with the numbers? This is your essay question. You'll have a piece of paper and you can write your ideas. What do you think about the PISA test? You can write this in English, Japanese, both, Spanish, French. We'll find people. Any language is okay. But we will hand out a piece of paper for your report. You'll have about 20 minutes that you can write the report. And please answer this question. What do you think about the PISA test? Another thing that's important is the PISA results are coming out next month in December. We will see the scores for the year 2012. Has Japan's score gone up? Has it gone down? Is the American score still bad or worse? Okay. So we will find out very soon what the new PISA scores are next month. So please look at those scores. Okay. I want to say thank you very much for coming here today, and I hope that you enjoyed this talk in English. We will have trainings every single month. We'll have trainings next month as well. We will send you information. By email, we'll give you information about next month's topic and which dates. So I hope that all of you can come again next month and every month to our English trainings.